Last time, we worked on our oversized concrete factory with big mixers for all the different colours that we needed, as well as hit a cobblestone gen inside of a dump truck. For this episode, we're heading back to the desert to start working on our over 5,000 block railway that I totally haven't been procrastinating on at all. But yes, welcome back everyone. We are back in the desert area with our sand miner, as well as of course our gold and terracotta farm. And I want to spend some time today actually getting this stuff back to the home base. It's a very long journey, I'm not going to lie. Episode 1 me, why did you think this was a good idea? And also episode 20 me, why did you build the sand mine up here knowing how much effort it takes to build a train line? But I'm gonna do it anyway. But the main focus I'm gonna be working on today is working on a nice little desert train station and also kind of road going between our farms and the station so we can move things around. The very first thing I'm gonna do is probably try and clear out some of this area. It's gonna be a relatively big train station and there's a lot of sand here that I need to move, so let's get to it. And there we go, I've cleared out a nice big area. I of course still need to do some landscaping, but we can do that once the train station is in. Now for the design of this train station, I do want something similar to our kind of little power station over here. I liked my kind of mix of the kind of birch wood and planks with the sandstone, but I think I am going to introduce a little bit more color to it using some of the red sandstone. I'm just going to start with the pillars, I think, and use some of these tiny sandstone bricks as the base. And I am going to use some of this orange terracotta, I think, to kind of stick out from the front here. Bring some of that brick forward. And then use some of our copycat stairs with some sandstone pillar walls, I think, on top to add a little bit more depth. And then use some of these birch planks and stuff to kind of reach upwards and then mix that properly with some of our stripped birch planks as well. And then kind of continue our orange terracotta up to make a kind of large window, I think. Then bring this over to make ourselves a little bit of an arch. I think I'm going to throw some acacia fences into. And some sandstone pillar walls as well to go in front, just like a little balcony. Now I think I do want to add a bit of a slant to this roof. So we're going to continue our dark metal plating, I think, all the way up and fill that in with some more orange terracotta. Although really, it kind of looks like a Reddit upvote, not intentional. But now I think to continue adding a little bit more depth to this, I'm going to throw some steps down, as well as some more of our sandstone pillar walls to go in front of it. Add a small pillar on each side, put a lightning rod on top, I think, just to kind of make that look a bit more fancy. And then also throw in some normal sandstone pillar walls into these as well for windows. And then really, I think the last thing I want to add are some girders, so we can then bring those down as kind of extra support for the walls. So I'm thinking with this particular train station that although it is going to have a facade like this, I'm probably going to have it like open roof, make it nice and airy. So we don't need to worry about the roof so much, but we've got to add a little bit of support on the sides. And I think I'll keep this kind of design just for the ends of the train station and kind of come up with a simpler design for the middle parts. And this definitely doesn't have to be as large, but of course I do want to keep a similar design. I think I'll keep using our orange terracotta as well as our mix of stripped birch and planks, and then throw in some more of our sandstone pillar walls in between. And then I think maybe add a little bit more of our sandstone pillar walls at the top here, just to kind of match with the sides. And then of course our supporting pillars to keep it upright. And then I need to more or less just keep on repeating the design throughout, with a couple of exceptions. I think the main thing I want to do for some of them is have a little bit of an overhang, but for our center part here, I am going for a similar design as the other parts, but I am going to make it slightly wider, and there is a reasoning for that. And that is that I want to actually add a bunch of these metal girders going all the way up, because we're going to have a little bit of a road coming by here into here, and I kind of want a kind of fake little crane that would pick up anything from our trucks, kind of lift them up over the train station and onto trains. Now, it's not going to actually work because I'm pretty sure to make it work, I would need steam and rails, which isn't actually officially coming to this version of Minecraft, which is a bit unfortunate. And there is an unofficial version, but I'm not sure if I actually want to use it or not, because it is, of course, unofficial, and I'm a little bit worried about it potentially corrupting my world or something. So I may at least wait until it's a little bit more developed first. But my point stands is that I'm not sure if I could make this work anyway. So we're just going to play a bit of pretend instead. Not to mention that the post boxes are kind of way easier to deal with anyway, rather than having to try and switch physical containers over. So I think I'd rather do it this way anyway. But essentially what the plan is to use some of our smaller metal girders here with some support across, then kind of just have this come straight down, kind of have this come across so that we can attach some of these trap doors onto it. And that would be the kind of clamp thing that comes down to the trucks and it picks up whatever it is on the back of them. But yeah, the crane thing is probably going to stretch all the way across to the other side of the train station. And I've kind of put in the basics for now. But I think what I'm going to do now is work on the rest of the exterior part and then come back when that is done. And there we go, there is our facade done, and I've obviously done it on the other side as well. Now I've just got to work on the interior. I think the first thing to do is figure out exactly where our rails are going to go, because it's going to be like our station at the main town where I'm going to have two kind of tracks going along the platforms as well as one in the middle. So if we extend these tracks along, and also figure out our little platform situation, as well as how the under parts of these tracks are going to look as well. For the platforms, I think I'm going to use some of this cut sandstone columns from Chipped and pretty much go all the way along the length of our station with it. And then with those bits done, I think I'm going to use some more of our orange terracotta along the edges here, as well as underneath as well, because I think I'm going to use some more of our red sandstone pillar walls. I'm liking how that's looking so far, and I need to repeat that on the other side, but I think what I will also do in the middle here is add some more redstone terracotta and kind of continue these red sandstone pillar walls between, just for a little bit of separation of the tracks. With that bit done, I then need to kind of mirror what we have on the outside to the inside so it doesn't look so flat. And then really the last kind of major thing I want to do with the station is get all our support structures in, which is mostly going to be just an absolute ton of girders. I'm going to make use of our facades on the sides here just to kind of figure out exactly where I want this to go. And I think I'm going to align the girders with the tracks underneath as well. That will make a lot of sense when it comes to our crane, because this will be the kind of line where the actual containers would be slid along across, I think. Now I'm going to make sure I leave this little bit in the middle empty, because that's where I kind of want the crane to lower it down into. And then I do want to make use of some of our diagonal girders as well, just to add a bit more extra support. And I went in and placed in the rest of our girders, the very excessive amount of them, I'm not gonna lie. But I do like the way that they look. And essentially the entire point is that containers can come along this crane line, get kind of dropped down onto these lower girders, and then slid along and placed onto trains coming by. And I think I'll give a couple examples of that actually. And we can kind of have one hanging from down here by throwing in shipping container here. We can wrap this around with a similar thing that we did for the crane out front, making sure to connect this up, as well as have our trapdoors on the sides and a connection up here as well. And yeah, I think something along those lines is pretty good. And then I think for this kind of middle lane here, I'm not going to actually use it, but I'm going to have like a parked train in the center, which these containers are going to be going onto. So I think that would look rather cool. I've also gone ahead and actually added another one up here as well, just to kind of show how they're like being slid along, ready to get on this future train. And then I think with a couple of additional changes to make this look a little bit better, I think that's more or less what I wanted for in here. And I think the next kind of major thing to do is probably figure out exactly how to turn trains around here. I have left myself quite a bit of space after the train station, but I don't think enough to actually add a kind of loop here. And I was potentially thinking to myself that I could turn it to the north here and have a loop up in the ocean where this bit of land mass is and have it come back on itself. But I might have to experiment with that idea a little bit. Okay, there we go. I have got a bit of track in. I did indeed decide to add our loop up into the ocean. Obviously still needs some landscaping to prevent, you know, the random bits of floating track, but it is at least possible for trains to make the loop at the moment. Now really the next thing I need to do is set up our road network. And I'm probably going to have the road, you know, come up through here, cross the railway tracks here, over to our sand mine over here. And then I'm going to have to figure out exactly how I want to bring the road over to our gold and terracotta farm over here. It's probably going to result in quite a lot of landscaping, I think, and probably quite a few bridges over this bit of water as well. And what I think I am going to do is use our railway tracks again to kind of figure out exactly where our roads are going to go, because we can use these to help pave the road that we want. Luckily for us, this track does turn just well enough to actually fit over that little bit of straight track there. And I think what I may do for our little sand miner here is probably construct a kind of massive sand pile here with some hidden storage. And then the truck can just come along and pick up anything that it needs. But as for our road here, I think, like I said, we're going to probably come over to the side here, bring the road over this bit of water. And there we go. I think this route's going to work. I'm obviously going to have to clear out some of the sand, build some bridges. And the tunnel that's going to end up going underneath the track where the actual trucks will run across, I'm probably going to have to make a little bit deeper than usual because of how deep this water does go. But that shouldn't be too much of an issue. But I've come back to the main town and I am going to park this train of ours and disassemble it, as we're going to need this for our desert road. And of course, rebuild it on the other side here. And this time, because we're not actually going to be using a randomized road, I'm going to be using some of this massive stone bricks. I can just pop these straight in. And I'm probably going to need more than I have made, but we'll see how far this gets us. The answer was apparently a little bit further than I expected, but one thing I kind of forgot about is I do need to add a loop specifically for our sand miner here. So I think a little loop like that will do just fine. I did have to move this track over by one, so there was enough room. That's not that big of an issue. Now I need to just go and get some more of this massive stone brick and complete the rest of it. There we go, there is the rest of our road in. I did add some of this cut stone columns to the side to kind of give the road a little bit of a trim. It's now completely complete between our golden terracotta farm and all the way back to our train station. And I've even gone ahead and placed in the track underneath where our trucks are going to run. And I had updated our little train here that was paving to one with a bunch of drills on the bottom, so that made the tunneling a little bit easier. I think I would like to still add a few more details to this road at some point. Perhaps some layers of sand on top to kind of make it look like some of the sand has moved around rather than this kind of perfectly clean look. But it will certainly do for now. What I actually feel like doing right now is building a train. maybe even possibly 2, because I would like to have our train in the center here, as well as the train that's actually going to go back to our home base. I think I'll start with the center one first. We are going to need to place our station down first so that we can create our new train. And thanks to blocks and bogies, we can crouch right click so we can switch to different styles of train bogies. And I think I want something like this, as well as the same kind of thing a little bit further back, because I want to do this train a little bit differently from my other ones. Of course, my other trains are steam trains, but I kind of want this to look a bit more slightly modern, as this area is a bit more industrial. I'm of course going to continue using our industrial plating here, bring that all the way through. And I do actually want to make this particular train probably use some oranges. So we can use some of our orange concrete here. Honestly, since we last built our train, we do have quite a few new mods in this, so we can add a few more interesting details that I haven't been able to do in the past. I'm going to use some of this Create Deco catwalk stuff because I like how that looks, as well as some of our headlamps from Bits and Bobs, and throw in a placard in the middle as well. Now I do need to add a bit of flooring into here, so I'm going to expand it out with some stairs and some more plating on both sides. And actually I'm going to remove these blocks because I do want a little bit more room in here, so I'm going to place some of our vertical stairs down and continue with our concrete and this vertical leaded glass, and make use of some of our half slabs and stuff, the center part, and then we are just going to keep using some of our plating for the roof part as well. And I do kind of want to have this roof a little bit slanted like that. We can throw in our industrial plating into there as well. And I have increased the size of that so we can throw in some of our steps on the side as well to act as a little bit of a trim on each side. And then I think I'm going to throw in one of these industrial front lights at the front as well. I'm liking how that's looking so far. Probably going to need to add some panels on the side here to continue our concrete and glass, as well as of course our slopes. And honestly, for the most part, I think I'm just going to block this off and kind of continue this around, because the center part is going to be where like the actual true engine is. We're not going to be needing to see that, but I am going to throw in some of this hazardous orange concrete, wrap that around the sides, and just so it's not completely orange for the entirety of this train, I'm going to throw in some of this industrial sheet metal on top of some stairs, just to add a bit of different texture. And then I think I'm going to throw in some of these catwalk railings as well, with a different type of orange concrete. And then also going back to our iron metal sheet so that we can continue this catwalk railing across. And then I think to add a couple more details, I'm going to throw in a ladder on the side, as well as use some of these kind of copycat slices, just to kind of add a little bit of a trim around all these things and make it look a little bit less flat. And then of course, keep on using our industrial iron plating. We can even throw in a bit of a panel on the side there so that it doesn't stick out so much. Then I need to just more or less just keep on continuing this design across. And I am probably just going to kind of mirror this from both sides so that the front and the back look the same. And there we go. I think that's more or less what I wanted for this. I obviously continued all our designs on the other side and the other end of the locomotive as well. And I also opted to actually keep the kind of path going in between the two different sides, so I can place a train controls on both ends really. Oh, and I also added some fans on top as well, just to help keep the train cool. But yeah, pretty happy with that. A bit different to my steam engine designs, but I think it came out quite well actually. Now to do the carriages. And I am going to take some inspiration from my previous trains carriages, as these are pretty industrial looking anyway. And I'll probably have a couple of container ones and then probably like an empty one or two as obviously the train is meant to be actively being loaded. So I think we'll start here, and we can obviously switch these out for our trailing kind. We'll stick to the 2 axles. And we'll stick these together with our typical plating, but I am going to use some different materials for this. And we are going to make use of our copycat blocks and use these girders for the sides of them, as well as, of course, our slope layers to connect those. And then we can throw on our shipping container and expand that out. So I'm going to need to make some more. There we go, even grabbed some blue ones while I was at it. Now I would like to add some other additional details to this, kind of in a similar vein as our locomotive, but I want to throw in some of our ladders again, more so to make it look like it's attached a bit more, as well as add our industrial railing in on the side as well, making sure to hang that over the edge a little bit. Some diagonal girders just to kind of hold the container better in place, some slices so that these don't look like they're randomly floating, as well as throwing in, I think, some of these valves at the end kind of look like stoppers. And of course I need to make sure I repeat this on this side as well. Then I think I'll repeat that design one more time with a blue container. There we go. And then I think I'm going to do one empty carriage so that it looks like this one is being placed on top of it. And there we go. There's our last little flatbed truck. I even threw in some crates on the platforms here just to kind of add a little bit of decoration, as well as cleaned up the sides of the train station a little bit. Because unfortunately, I'm out of time this week. This was a very build heavy week, and I'm never too sure how much people like the more build focused weeks, because sometimes you just got to build like 5 different things before you get to the create stuff. Although to be fair, I guess I already did the create stuff. I did the sand miner and the golden terracotta farm. But anyway, I hope people enjoyed it regardless. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye for now.